Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. Again, a word of apology. This is Wednesday's Pastor Gary Live segment, which I failed to put out yesterday, and here it is, putting it out on Thursday. There's a line in the song El Shaddai by Amy Grant that I think about often. Throughout the song, she uses biblical names for God, God Most High, Lord, things like that. But as the song extols the wonders and majesty of God, eventually it moves to Christ and his death on the cross for us. And the line that is so powerful in the song goes, "Your most awesome work was done in the frailty of your Son." I think St. Paul would agree. And over he talks about God's power being found in what the world perceives as weakness. And I'm mentioning that today because it seems to me so often that God tends to work in small, understated ways, ways we might easily miss if we aren't paying attention. One of the most significant of those happened with Mary. We are still exploring some Advent hymns, noticing how they invite us to hope and ponder, how they fill us with the wonder of what God is doing. Today we want to look at what we might call a narrative hymn in our new hymnal supplement, a hymn with the unusual title of No Wind at the Window. The hymn situates us with Mary as she hears the news of what God plans for her and her response to that. Maybe you've never thought about that. What would it have been like for Mary herself when the angel told her of God's plans? The hymn begins by describing an ordinary day in the life of this girl. No wind at the window, no knock on the door, no light from the lampstand, no foot on the floor, no dream born of tiredness, no ghost raised by fear, just an angel and a woman and a voice in her ear. It seemed like a regular day. No signs alerted her as to what was to come. And then in a subtle, understated way, suddenly we find an angel and a woman who listens. O Mary, don't hide from my face. Be glad that you're favored and filled with God's grace. The time for redeeming the world has begun, and you are requested to mother God's Son. Again, the hymn presents even the angel's message in such an understated way. God is doing something. Oh, and by the way, it is the thing that people have longed for and hoped for generations and generations, and it means the salvation of the whole world. And how would you like to have a small part in it? The hymn uses the word requested. Mary is requested to mother God's Son. There's so much hanging on that one word, requested. Will she say yes? Will she say no? What does it mean that God allowed her the choice? Then in verse 3, the angel spells it out more explicitly, what this child will mean and how this child will be perceived. This child must be born that the kingdom might come, salvation for many, destruction for some. Both end and beginning, both message and sign, both victor and victim, both yours and divine. This is such a rich verse. Jesus will be salvation for many, but destruction for those who are evil or who oppress the poor and weak. Jesus is at the same time the end and the beginning, both the message of God and the sign pointing to the message of God's love. Jesus will be both victor and victim, on the cross suffering and vanquishing death at the same time. And finally, he points out to Mary that Jesus will be hers, but also not hers. Both yours and divine, he says. Jesus will be her child, but he will also be her Savior. Verse 4 moves us from the understated to the majesty. No payment was promised, no promises made, no wedding was dated, no blueprint displayed. Yet Mary, consenting to what none could guess, replied with conviction, "Tell God, I say yes." Things weren't done the way regular children were brought about. No dowry, no vows other than God's continual love and commitment to us. No wedding, no plan laid out for Mary to know. And yet in faith, in trust, in humility that she could be part of God's wondrous plan, Mary says yes. As Mary was ready to receive God this Advent, may we prepare our hearts to receive God into our lives and into our world. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.